Welcome, y'all. So, I'm looking at Shaligrams. I took a bunch of pictures. These, more than these. And I was thinking, well, maybe I should look at the pictures before I go into like recording mode and start recording my reaction. But really, it's good that it be a reaction, and I'm realizing that like I can't do it by looking and coming back without writing down every thought. So this one, let's just start with this one. This Shaligram, which is all of these are from this shop. They're all from this shop that I took pictures of today on eBay. Okay, so first, immediately this caught my eye as a very, very exciting rock because of what it shows. If we'll go through all the images of this one, but notice there's a circle here, another circle type thing here, almost like a stamp that comes off of that one, and another kind of thing there, and then more of like a lobe down here. And then interestingly, I noticed this, like the lobe goes here, but then just past it is this material, which kind of seems to flow with it, like this way, to a degree. So I noticed that. Okay, so an interesting side. Okay. So whatever's going on here, I don't know. It's almost like like it was raked. Like, I don't know what fossil explanation there is for something like this. Like, this isn't on all rocks. This is on, like, Shaligrams. A lot of these features are, like, Shaligrams. Maybe this is found other places, but it's pretty anomalous. To a point where when it's on a rock that is made of currents, that shaped it this way, then, yeah. Okay, so another angle. So here, so like I just mentioned, made of currents. That's what my videos I've been talking about Shaligrams, is that they were shaped by currents. That there's some type of current. How exactly it's working is I'm trying to figure out. It seems like maybe there's like a stone that gets potentially drilled into by outside pressure of a current that like is against it, generally speaking, but then it begins to like open little nooks that it then like seeds off of, and then it just takes specific shapes potentially. It's hard to say what the current is. It also sometimes looks like they're literally like the chakra angles are dependent on the stone's shape, which gives me the impression that it's a current within the stone that's highly dependent on the pressure that the stone is experiencing. Whether or not it's a pressure of an outside current or an outside just pressure that's just there rather than a current, although that would really probably mean that high pressure is really a high current of a certain energy level of particles to a degree. Okay, let's look at this though. Like, it's kind of like, from my amateur standpoint, as someone who doesn't know that much about fossils, it kind of looks ridiculous to call it a fossil. Like, what? this makes more sense. I can get behind things like this. Like, intellectually, I can understand things like this. But, like, this, it's kind of like, what are we doing? Like, this is a perfect circle, practically, like, to a degree. And notice, though, like, this feature is on the protruded side. All of these, like, features are not within this side. They're on the outside side, which is what current does. Suggestive that current was critical aspect of this forming, and really if we look at it, it almost looks like the current was like outside, like drilling into a location that then kind of gave shape to surrounding current that flowed on the stone. Let's keep going though. So this here, over here, this bump, this little like crack over here, it's smooth. Like there's not really much of an indentation in a lot of it. It's more just like differentiated. But over here, it's physically severed in a way where there's a crack down it, like this. So here's that spot going the other way, where what we were looking at's down here. And then up here, it comes up this way, and then it has this big old, like, missing chunk. It's kind of what seems to be happening in these instances is, like, the current takes out chunks in specific places even. So here's that, like, bending white powder type, gold powder or whatever type stuff around the boundary of this. Also notice here there's lines, here there's lines, here there's lines, here there's lines, lines, lines. Maybe lines this way. Here, okay, so this is real interesting. So if we follow this, here's that lobe coming off of the small circle with a bigger circle with an even bigger circle with then a lobe type thing that then is connected to the opposite side of this system. So it's kind of got this fracture here, connected maybe to the boundary to here even. I don't know if that matters. I'm just taking note of it and as I'm talking, I guess. And where this one connects to this fracture line. So it's potentially connected. Okay, well, let's keep going real quick. Also, this is going on. But this curves around and goes up this way, and then there's this patch here, right, which we can kind of see here. But when we come over to this one, we see that there's the patch again, and now we can much more distinctly see that this patch has this boundary around it that has like a hole, almost like an outlet, and then another boundary, and then this like extension thing that comes off of here. So off of this flow is this chunk with a boundary with this thing, but then continue, and then there's a boundary with like a missing chunk, like a void. So there's a almost like this potential for systems to have like different. Let's look at some stuff. Related rock formations like this. This incredible Mo Rocky boulder. That's where I got it. It's raining. So that crag goes up there. Seems like it might have some kind of branches off this way. Interesting. We can also see like a general across this way. Almost like it was more uniformly flowing here. But this gives me, like, immediately makes me think of North America. Western United States through Bighorn Basin, Bighorn National Park, Bighorn Mountain. Bighorn Mountain is here. So we have this thing, which is like this one. Or yeah, probably where this is more like a basin type of material where voids form, and the dark stuff is more like the dense base material from which like porosity from current flows emerges. I don't, maybe also can be compressed, but this gives me the impression of more of something. Maybe I'm just thinking maybe more like this, or like this kind of region, which is talked about, very reminiscent of this image. I didn't know all that other stuff would come up. I never searched for it without James Webb Space Telescope, I guess. This with like a leading finger, like a nucleus thing here. That kind of thing is going on here, where there's almost like a thumb and a pointer finger, fingertip. I get that feeling from this stone. And it looks like it comes off of this system, off of the lobe, and then spirals off, creating this like hand. Oh, here's another one. This is a milky marble in the I want to say I forget which desert. I don't know, I put mostly deserts. That must have just been its name. I don't know. But this is one with like a substance in the middle versus the boulder. I don't know if I finished my thought earlier. Here's another one that's got like a particle. Another particle. Where there doesn't, like, there's layers. Maybe these are good examples. Like how this one's white, this one's dark. There's rings of different materials. Like this also. How this one, like, is starting to become more like this. But the other ones are more like the white material. This rock's interesting. I posted on Twitter. I don't know how accurate it is. Maybe I'll just play it real quick if I can find it. Fuck the system, fuck the system, fuck the system, fuck the system. I don't know how to enlarge it. Right there. I found her. Yeah. Up this way and around. So I'm really, like, maybe there were current flows into a generally a system that shaped it like this by specific angle and entry points, and then bringing another entry point into being over here as this one separates into two systems. It really is like an atom. There's so much potential. I know I'm not like exactly accurate in everything, but like we could be. This I found really, like when I noticed this, I was like, oh shit, dude. Right here, this is fed through by this like reservoir of material that is just being like sucked in this way. Seemingly, that's my interpretation of what's going on here. Is this material, for some reason, energetically, once these currents coming together from three separate points collided, this one collides with this one, collides with this one. Maybe they go straight, and then it starts to. It's unclear exactly what's happening. It may be that there's an inflow and an outflow, inflow and an outflow, inflow and an outflow. It's very up in the air at this point in terms of nuances. But like, there's no question that the fact that there is this crack that is materially influencing the outcome of the structure is relevant to why it happened this way, in that there was like literally a current. That's like, if you had sand grains and a current flowed like down a path of them, you would see the overall sand grains that were more like this. Notice here it's starting to flow and it's starting to arc in this shape, whereas over here it's noticeably arced in. There may even be similar things going on, less detectable at other places. Okay, so let's get back to Shaligrams. Okay, this one, let's just go through real quick from the very beginning of, I believe this is the last one I left off on. Like, I did this one, so now I think this is new. This one I found really interesting because these features are on both sides of this. Or no, that's not this one. Another one had it on both sides of the stone. Hopefully I got the pictures. I thought this was the one. Apparently it's not the one. I found those scratches like too regular to be like anything but related to some process that's just also can happen, and I don't know what's going on with them, but I've found them on both sides. Again, we see where the current flows. These are clear and distinct current paths that can be traced and mapped and like deciphered. That's my take on the matter. This I found really telling, how it just stops here. There's a lot of like abnormalities. We can say like time plus erosion plus reason plus coincidence, or we can say, well, that makes more sense from a current standpoint. This makes really no sense from a fossil standpoint. That it's so like, what is happening really? Like, really, what is happening? Something else I noticed here before I move on, this thing generally points down to like where this region begins or ends or whatever, and then it has this gap that's about to here. I didn't notice that quite before, but it is. And then over here, it has this change in the features where this side is pretty subtle and this side it's pretty like not so subtle. Again, like relative to the positioning of this chakra system. And it's also angled, like not with this, like this way. Which neither is this. So I found that something of interest. Just check out some more angles. Okay, this one again. I don't know what to make of that. Also, we can for sure see this shape. That's very reminiscent of Damodar Kund. This place. This. Something's up there. I don't know what to make of it. It's almost like it's different. Location is starting there. What is happening in these things? That's just... this one's really revealing, honestly. Anything that has, like, colorations that indicate how the currents were flowing better like this are really helpful, honestly. This one I found, like... So we're just saying fossilization can do this? Poke holes at specific points. I don't know, guys. It doesn't even look like it's the boundary of the shell. Like, if it were to be a shell, it doesn't look like the boundary of the shell. So why are there poked holes not even at the boundary? Like, it would be one thing if it was along the wall of the shell. Also, whatever's going on here, let's check out some more images. This is on this stone, which has all this going on. Like this, the under crust here is pretty interesting. There's those same, like, teeth type things. Protrusions. Again, with those kind of ribbed features that keep showing up. Again, with this just fine threaded... Like, it really makes no sense for fossil. It doesn't make sense, dudes. Are you guys looking at the same, like, thing I'm looking at? I don't think you guys are. I get why, like, it's easily... what else would it be? The fossils, okay. And then we moved on. Kind of like the Big Bang. What else could it be? Expansion of space. That's all that could be causing this redshift, since that's the only interpretation that we know of for the redshift. And then we just went from there, and it's just been part of our interpretation ever since, not really critically analyzed, except for people who are considered fringe scientists or whatever, like, nomenclature needs to be slung to degrade merit. of an argument. Boom, headshot. There's another like poked hole thing. The little nucleus, like it's got like a core, like it's got substance to that hole pokage. This made me think of like a trilobite or something. I don't know what not trilobite necessarily, but something of the like. I don't know enough details of things. Also, this one really made me think of like water or something that's like drilling into a side and just sculpting it almost, but not actually getting into it yet to then flow within the stone and take out material. Like that's probably an aspect of how these occur. This one's real interesting because it's clearly like a sphere, generally speaking, that had like opened up, like it went like this and elongated out this new system, almost like a planet or star, a star, let's say, with a planet, and then the star rotates on like an axis. And the planet's just hanging out there, connected through like a sparkling current or whatever exactly. I know there's little currents that connect planets to their stars and moons to their planets and things of that nature that are kind of like threads to the source. This is kind of in like fractal. Like it would be so cool if one of these was found like holding with like a sphere at the center. Like instead of holding something like this, it's holding a sphere that then is holding a sphere. Like it's just a perfect energy to bring forth this like balance of repetition, like identical systems. To just be like, that doesn't make any sense for fossils to do, but like currents could do stuff like that. This one, real clear cut that it was just like smoothened by the currents. Like this didn't just happen. Like this was a current that was like over here is just kind of making it smooth, but over here it was physically entering in and then getting into this like dead end almost, and just swirling in the dead end and creating a void that has shape and structure to it, though. It seems. So it could just be outside currents of water. I was really thinking maybe water. It's at 65 million years. There's a lot of evidence of water in the Tibetan plateau region, causing like all the lakes, like a basically where like in North America and Canada, over here where there was an ocean here, that ocean boiled away, and in the process like the land became porous by the process, which seems to have also occurred here. So I would say it did occur here, and it did so even like violently in like vibrational ways that have like shaligram features and just like impacts, so-called impacts that are like ring structures that are maybe not so easy for me to point out now that I'm saying it, like here maybe down to here across this way, generally speaking. Like these aren't just lakes, they're lakes caused by this process. Okay, so let's go back to these. So it may be that the same thing's going on here, where like that it was physically just a lot of pressure of water flowing there for some reason that was carving into stones and shaping them. Seemingly while they're still being formed, also, like, probably wasn't just water at all, it was also the materials, all of which was ejected simultaneously, at least in part. Like, the water might have been present by other reasons. Water probably helps flow through the rock and create voids where then it just outgasses. So here's another just kind of carved into the side. This is real interesting because off of this crack, we see a sort of this thing, and then right here it's almost like a jet stream, but in two directions. It kind of starts to have a lobe shape, but it's still really like protruding. This gives me this thought just occurred to me. Maybe go to this one. This one, how it has circle, circle, and then begins to have more of like a extended protruding lobe. Maybe as it does this, it like, to move to the next one, it like goes forward a distance, generally to a point, and then it begins to like widen and widen and widen. Or can, not always, but can do that kind of thing. Where maybe like this one, if it were to like do the next one, it would be when this one became like full circle. It wasn't just like a oval, but it really became like a new circular system, and then the next one, and so on. But then over time, it just creates these like stepped edges of a shaligram features. I don't know if there's a good one soon. Stepped like this, but by just taking like circles out at a time. And then another circle, maybe. I don't know. Just a thought based off of that feature there and what's going on. That also seems like an offshoot related to it. These are conjoined pretty much. This has a bunch of bumps in it. Okay. This one I just thought had so many cool features that are pretty clearly like, what? Again, there's that again, there's that. Anomalously, there's that's incredible. Ain't no fossils, dudes. This one's pretty cool. Here and there. I like the way this is. Looks almost like after it like exploded outward, it still was layered with materials that are just like after the fact, though. I wonder if we could literally carbon date, like, or carbon date, radiometrically date, whatever, like find the different exact ages of grains across things of that nature and find anomalies that don't really make sense from a fossil standpoint. This, like, straight up perfect circle on the top of this thing. Why? If there's a shell here that was there, and then some sort of matrix, why would the matrix form a perfect circle on it? It really doesn't make sense. Unless it's currents, then it actually makes sense. Here's another, I talked about like this shaped ones. This one's kind of square, so I took some pictures of it. There's a picture in, it's got kind of like a hand. That kind of gives me the impression of a hand there. I wonder... It kind of points back to it. Okay, this one, dudes. Someone want to explain this to me? Good luck. Good luck. If you ain't saying it's caused by currents, good luck. That is just proof positive. Not only are there 3 of them adjacent, but this one seems to be coming off of this shape. Like it's related to it. Although these, maybe not, because those don't seem like it, but... And then again down here, it happens off of that shape, off of that one. Wow, this one is out of this world incredible. How cool is that? I don't know what's happening on that side. A bunch of just pictures not that angled exactly at it. I don't think there were any angled at that. Maybe this one is. Again, though, we're just like a yin-yang thing going on that one. This makes no sense for fossils to do. We've just accepted the interpretation and not really looked at the stones. From other angles, like always through the lens of fossilization. How did this occur? By fossilization. And then basically looking at ammonites and only ammonites and behaving like that explains this stone right here. There's another of those protrusions at the leading end of that. And then I found this interesting. This is the one that actually we can see it has the, like, claw marks. It's divided in half, like right down the middle practically. Notice this side that's there does not have this stuff there because this exploded this way. Just those marks. Different sides. This is, notice it's rounded here, and it's much more like flat on this side. Both sides have those things on them, which are kind of making me think of the ones that are like a nub, like a Shiva lingam looking Shaligrams, more like this, but with just like lines across almost. Here's another one. This, I only had one of these. Now I have a couple more that just show that systematically they have this ring with this little protrusion, and then the nub, the terminal. Nub, or the protrusion, I guess, nub, terminal. think this is the same one. Protrusion. Same one. Little blob. I just took some pictures of this one because I was like, yeah, maybe I should get more of a spectrum of the potentials that I've like ignored. Like I don't have that many of like the normal basic looking ones round and all, like things that maybe I could have more pictures of. I'm more so focused on the ones that I'm like, these don't make sense from a fossil standpoint. This doesn't either, really, but if you guys wanted to say it does, I haven't really rebutted it really in that much detail, although this I found interesting. It almost looked like a water falling into like a puddle in some like landscape. Some reason it gave me that like impression by it. I don't know. This one, like it kind of like branches off this way, branches off this way. It's just not like what's going on. I don't know. It looks to me like whatever this like the system that the current was making, that is like a positive negative system that has charge and interacts with other systems nearby, like this system. It looks like this system actually connected through to this region and interacted through, making like an additional lobe type feature that's not quite like the overall lobe. So it's just this like derpy looking Shaligram shell, because it was a shell, but it was a current that was interacting with another current all along there. In this instance, with another current interaction to really demonstrate it. Same here, showing their like connectedness by just the current aspect of it, which is frequent, like the interconnectedness of them, where they don't have to be adjacent to a point where they're like connected like that. Whoa, this is like its own Shaligram shape. What is going on here? And it divides. It's clear as day, it divides, goes down this way and this way based on the notches and the notches. Like this one is connected essentially, where this one's kind of has more of a gap, but because of the notches, it's really like clear this is two separate a dividing of the current that then comes around this way into this region through here. Like it's interacting with these things. Definitely not fossils. This one I found interesting. Much more like a traditional shell kind of thing, but still not really. Like it looks almost crystallized to some totally different materials that are not quite that normal in Shaligrams. And then again, like that shape is over there a bit. I don't know what to make of this one. Here we see on the corners again, like the tendency for like systems to form at corners of this. The stone is common. Again, kind of just the puncturing, like a needle is poking into this one. All sorts of shapes going on here that are just like casually written off with new species. It's pretty much how we do it. Another species discovered. Another species, another species, another species, another species, another species, another species. I don't know how many species we have to use to explain the existence of Shaligrams alone. Probably more than is even remotely reasonable, given their location is very limited. And their time in history is very limited. Okay. I think I made it through them all. So, I think that was it, yeah. Cool. Thanks for hanging out, y'all. That's my most recent spiel on the currents of Shaligrams. So thanks for hanging out. See y'all again next time. Peace.